You guys are in for a treat. My friend Kerene is stepping into the hype seat. Her and I bonded many years ago over our former pre-med ambitions and how we both turned our attention to fashion. In this episode, she shares her experience learning how to spot trends, her early days in the New York fashion scene, and how she discovered her eye for style. She's a stylist today and content creator, and she's very talented. This is Kerene, and today you will learn how to navigate the fashion industry. Enjoy. Hello, welcome back to the Right Hype podcast. I'm your host, Gavon, and this is the second episode, but first guest of the season. This is a dear friend of mine who you will get to know today. Her name is Kerene. She grew up in Georgia and the Bronx. She was actually born in the Bronx, but she moved to Georgia when she was young. She spent a lot of her summers in New York, and her family is Jamaican. She's the first generation born here in the U.S., and she's currently living in the Bronx. In college, she started studying pre-med, but she switched schools and changed majors to fashion, merchandising, and marketing. So with that introduction, please welcome Kerene.
Hi,
Woo!
everyone. I'm Kerene.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm so nervous. But yeah, like you said, I was like severely unhappy in college because I did do pre-med because that's what I was really good at it. I'm really good at it. My memory is really crazy. So it did help with that major because you do have to remember a lot of things all the time. But I just wasn't happy. I was super, 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 super depressed, like very depressed. And I just told my mom one day, I was like, I don't necessarily want to do pre-med. And she was like, so what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I want to study fashion. And she's like, it's best for you to do it. It's best for you. Because if you're depressed doing this, then you're going to go into the fields and you're going to be depressed. And then what are you going to do with your life? You're going to sit here and have regrets. So go for what you want to go for. It was a hard conversation, but my mom is very supportive on almost everything I do. So she kind of was just like, okay, so you need to figure out what you want to do, what school you want to go to, and then we can go from there. And that's what I did. I ended up going to Berkeley College on 42nd in Midtown, and I graduated with my bachelor's in fashion, merchandising, and marketing, which was cool. I made a lot of good connections there while I was going to school. So while I was going to school, I was also working at Urban Outfitters. I had to switch jobs because I felt like if I wanted to do fashion, I should actually work retail and figure out at least the fashion part of retail and figure out how that would flow into my life. So that's when my career in fashion retail started, was at Urban Outfitters. That was my first job. I loved working there. I loved the discount. I loved the clothes. I loved the aesthetic. It was definitely my steez all the way. Very fun time. Like I had a lot of fun times working at Urban. I felt like, you learn about yourself, you learn about others, you learn how to work with other people. You learn how to communicate too, because at some points, like, you're going for promotions. So you're learning how to like delegate, and you're also learning how to like be a good leader in that sense. I can say working at Urban definitely taught me how to be a good leader, because it taught me how to like talk to people and be stern and not, because there's a difference between being stern and mean. And so it really taught me how to be stern and how to talk to people when I need to be, like, you need to get this done, please, we'll get in trouble. But yeah. And after Urban, I worked at Topshop. I did visuals at Topshop, which is cool. Stressful, but cool. I would like to say that was the most stressful job I had in retail. It was very tiresome because we did a lot of overnights, because we had to visually reset quite often because they wanted the store. I worked in a flagship store on Fifth Avenue, so they wanted the store to always be in tip-top shape. So we worked a lot of overnights, so that way the store would open up freshly merchandised, and then we'd come back at the next night and do it all again. So very stressful, very, very stressful, but fun. I did enjoy merchandising for them. I started out in Top Shop, and then they moved me to Top Man, and I was doing visuals in Top Man, which is fun. I like men's clothing more than I like women's clothing.
Okay, so let's take it from the top. I want to hear who you were like growing up. Like, what was life like?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you wouldn't believe it now, but I was a tomboy growing up. I was a tomboy. Baggy clothes, and I didn't really care what I wore as long as I was comfortable. Very baggy clothes, very very just like as long as I feel good in the clothes, it doesn't matter. For real. I didn't start really getting like into my looks for real until I was like in middle school. That's when I started to care. But I still was tomboy, very much so, still a tomboy. But like now I'm being a little bit more like, no, I don't want to wear that. I think I should wear this. Kind of with my mom, telling her like, oh no, I want to do this instead. Um,
And your mom was primarily dressing you before?
yeah, but I would tell her like she would try to put me in dresses. It was a no go. Like I would if she would make me wear dresses to church and stuff like that. And then as soon as we get home, I'd be like, oh thank God, like get me out of this.
Get me out of
Because like even now like I'll wear dresses and stuff, but it's like now I'm more comfortable wearing them. But back in the day, I was like, oh heck no, give me some jeans, give me a t-shirt, give me some sneakers.
this. I feel that. I feel that. What were your like early influences? Because if you're a tomboy, I'm sure you're looking like a lot of menswear potentially.
I was like, I looked at So I lived in Atlanta mostly growing up. Like I lived in Jonesboro, Georgia, very, very southern. I was wearing like baggy shorts, a graphic t-shirt, sneakers. That was like early on. And then as I got older, when I started noticing boys, I was like, ooh, maybe I should, try a little bit. So I started trying like in middle school. Um, and then that's when I kind of realized that I could still be a tomboy but make it like cleaner. And so
Mm.
that influence came with me coming up here for the summers. So like um coming to New York for the summers and seeing how the men would dress, how it was like still very street, like still very like baggy, but also still put together. So like I took a lot of influences from people I saw around in the Bronx and Harlem, on how they dressed, and then took that back to Atlanta, and that's how I would dress. I'd literally dress like a New like I was born here in New York in the Bronx, of course, but really wasn't raised here. I really was raised in the South. So I would take the influences that I saw over the summer and then bring them back to Georgia, and just be like, Mom, I want to do this. I want to wear this. I want to do that. Yeah. I want these sneakers.
Were you also like me where you felt sort of out of place sometimes in the South because you sort of had this hybrid aesthetic?
Yeah. Cause like, I never got the Southern accent. And I was down there for a while.
Mm-mm.
My accent stayed the same. I was in New York. Like at points they just called me New York at my school. Like I was called New York. That was my
That's
nickname.
great.
And I was
Did
like,
you not?
well,
Did you embrace it?
yeah, I did because like I was born there. I'm from there. Everything I knew was here. Like most of my family is here. We had very few family in Georgia. I think we were like one of the only ones. Like now some of our family have moved down there. Now that we're back here in New York, which is funny enough. But yeah, we were like the only ones down there. Like it was me, my mom, my sister, and we were like literally the only ones down there. And then like a couple of our cousins would come down and see us every now and then. My grandfather would come see us, my grandma would come see us, but in all honesty, we were all like we're New Yorkers. We're just
Yeah.
New Yorkers living in Georgia.
New Yorkers through and through. So, when was your sort of introduction into learning about fashion?
It was like I really started to take a liking to fashion in high school for real. I started looking through Harper's Bazaar. I started looking at Cosmo. I started looking at Vogue. I started looking at Teen Vogue. I started watching runway shows. like old runway shows like Dior 93. I was watching Mugler 97. I was watching, all the couture shows and being like, wow. Um, for a while, I was really obsessed with Naomi Campbell. So I was like watching her walk the runway and just being this amazing black woman on the runway and seeing someone that looks like me in the runway. Because, during those times, you really weren't seeing that many black models on the runway for real. She was like, it was literally like her and Tyra for a while, and a few
Yeah.
others like Beverly. But like it literally was just like them three. You weren't really seeing a lot of black models. So to see her doing it and to me watching that, I was like, oh, that's cool. This is what was going on while I'm sitting here wearing baggy, baggy clothes. Everyone's out here just being chic and lovely. But that was my introduction. I was in high school. I picked up my first Teen Vogue. Actually, was the first magazine I picked up, and I just remember being like, "Oh, this is cool." I said, "This is cool." There's a world outside of there's a fashion world outside of what I see day to day, like around me. Um, so that really got me into. I started looking at fashion overseas, like seeing what those women were wearing in London, what those women were wearing in Italy, France, because at that time, that's when I started learning about like Fashion Week and Fashion Night Out was a thing when I was like in high
Ooh.
school. I didn't find out about Fashion Night Out until like my senior year of high school, and then my first year of college, I actually went to Fashion Night Out, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing."
Wait, what's Fashion Night Out?
So it used to be there was this one it was like this one day, the kickoff day, all the stores on like it'd be either in Soho or Fifth Ave, or sometimes it'd be both. The stores would open and they would have DJs playing, and you'd literally just walk from store to store and looking at like clothes, partying. It was cool. It was really,
I
really,
love
really, really
that.
cool. You would dress up and you just go out there and it'd be all night. They stopped it. I want to say they stopped it because I think after my sophomore year, they weren't doing it anymore. They weren't doing it anymore after my sophomore year. So like literally after my freshman year, they didn't do it anymore after that. And then they refined it and it just became really like all about just the runway shows and not necessarily doing the fashion night out anymore. It became about the runway shows and then the after parties after that. So
That's so incredibly lucky that you got to experience that before it sort of dwindled away. Because it sounds like a something that I see whenever I'm in participating in events during Fashion Week. My favorite parts are the mixer type events where you're not necessarily watching a show, you're still looking at a latest collection from a designer or a brand, but it's also just about like meeting people, feeling the space, feeling the vibes. I miss
you
that
know,
stuff.
it meets talking to other fashion people, getting your photos taken, networking. Like fashion night out was cute. I feel like I wish they would bring it back, but make it a little bit more refined because it was wild. Like it was wild. It was wild. I went to the one I went to was the one in Soho, and it was mayhem. I feel like if they would have refined it a little bit more, had it a little bit more organized, it probably still could have been something we're doing today. Because I definitely feel like it did impact the culture a lot. Because you're seeing like Mac, was it Mac? I believe no, that one was on Fifth Ave. So Mac, there was like a Mac on Fifth Ave that would show some of the makeup from the runway shows,
Mm.
like some of it to show you what the makeup trends were going to be for the shows. They wouldn't tell you what shows it were, like they were showing you, but they would show you like the makeup trends prior to the show because the next day would be when all the shows start. So Fashion Night Out was like the day before Fashion Week really started. So say Fashion Week started Thursday, it would be the Wednesday night. All the stores would be open, and you dip through and you know, yeah.
That's what's up. That sounds fun. So your love for fashion really started in high school. Tell me about your journey, through college. What was that like?
Ooh, okay. So at when I was first starting out and like taking fashion classes in college, I'm not gonna say I was struggling, but it was just like I had to really research. I had to really sit and get on my computer. I had to go find these books. I had to find these resources. I had to sit and read for hours and go through, like, it was a lot of, like, pre-med was a lot of reading, but because it came naturally to me, it really wasn't, like, it was
So you
kind
were
of,
pre-med.
yeah, I was pre-med before I became like before I did fashion. So with
Okay.
pre-med, it was kind of innate to me because I'm really good at biology. I was like all my classes, biology wise, I was passing them 90s, hundreds, like easy. Could do it with my eyes closed, easy. But when it came to fashion, I had to put in a little bit more I had to put in a little bit more effort because one, I wasn't like, it's not that I had been studying fashion this whole time. I had gotten into it when I was in high school. And even then, I only touched the surface. I didn't understand everything about garments. I didn't understand everything about fabrics. I didn't understand everything about different cuts. I didn't understand everything about, like, you know the designers, but do you know the history of the designers? You know what I mean? So it was literally, I was literally in the trenches sitting here with books and talking to, like, you're talking to your fashion professors and picking their brains about things because they've been in the industry for a long time. They've even worked for some of these brands. So it was a lot of me researching and wanting to know more and wanting to figure things out and spending that time reading, spending that time researching, spending that time asking questions, um, going to different exhibits when they had them, making sure like I was just up on everything. It's like whether it was like whether I'm looking at what's happening in fast fashion, whether I'm looking at what's happening in luxury, whether I'm looking at like what trends are forecasted for the next session, and seeing if I could like trend forecast before and see if I'm going to be correct on what's going to be trending. So it was a lot of hard work that went into it, but I don't regret switching my major and going for it at
Yeah.
all.
I mean, I love that you bring up the amount of work that you had to put in to get to where you are, and that I feel a lot of what happens in the fashion spaces. Some people are quick to sort of claim a specific like level of expertise, but like being super young, which I'm not to say that like people aren't who they say they are, but I also know that nothing beats having experience and knowledge and like actual sort of skills to tap into that you've refined over time. Um, and I feel like that's something that I'm learning from you is that you really took your time to learn the history and the industry itself, which is very like commendable, and I respect you for that.
Thank you. Because, like, for me, I've always been a little bit of a geek. And so to just put my geekiness into fashion, which I like love, made it easy because I like to learn. I like to read. I like to figure things out. I like to ask questions. If I don't understand something, I'm like, you know what? Let me ask. Like, what's the worst that can happen? So for me, it was just like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. It doesn't make sense to half do anything. Like, if you're gonna do it, do it. So that was my main focus.
Awesome. And what was your first job in fashion?
Honestly, it was on the retail end at Urban.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it
And you said
was.
you broke into you started at that level for a reason, right?
Yeah, because I was working at Walgreens as a beauty advisor, and I was like, you know, I need to actually be like working in the industry so I can like actually understand certain parts of the industry, whether it be retail or not. And I was like, retail is easier. I'm going to school still, so let me just, apply and see what happens. I applied to Urban twice. Didn't get it the first time, got it the second time.
Nice.
Yeah.
I always wanted to work there. It was such a looked so cool.
It was very cool and very, very fun. I had a great time working for them. Um, Very great time working for them. Met a lot of great people that I still keep in contact with too. They all are also mostly in the arts or in fashion as well, which is really cool.
I love that. I have a similar friend. Her name is Maite, and I met her working at Lucky Brand Jeans when I first moved to New York back in 2018. And she was a student at Parsons. I was looking for work, and we still to this day talk and we collaborate. And I agree, like those initial relationships that you make in fashion, specifically in retail,
Yo,
they go far.
they go really far. Cause one, y'all have like shared y'all like have shared experiences in certain instances because y'all working together all the time. You spend most of your time at work. If you're not at work, you're at school. So it's like you're with these people a lot. So of course you're gonna be, talking with them, sharing your experiences with them, and learning from them learning from you. So yeah, you're with these people a lot. You're gonna create like friendships, and some of them long lasting, and some of them just for the time being. But
Yeah. It's like networking. It's like the natural thing to do. So you started at Urban, and then what else? Take me through your career.
okay. So I started at Urban. At first, I was working the cash registers, and then I was like, I was working the cash registers, working really hard. They liked my energy. They loved how I worked. They were like, "Oh, you work really hard, whatever, whatever." And I was like, "Yeah." I asked them if I could get moved to the men's department, and they did move me. And I was like, bet. So once I moved down to the men's department, I started working really closely with the visuals. So like I would go in, they would get in at 6, I would get in at 7 and work with them in the morning to help like pretty much is happening. New York is so loud. That's the one thing I can say. I don't like how loud New York is. No matter how quiet, like no matter if you're in a quiet space or not,
Yeah.
it's just so loud all the time. I can't stand it. I can't
New
stand it.
York
That's the one
makes
thing I miss about
noise.
Georgia. That's the one thing I miss about Georgia. It's quiet. It's quiet.
That's so true. But before you were rudely interrupted by whatever that was, you got moved up to the men's section. You were doing some visuals.
Yes. I was doing visuals, working closely with the visual team. And it was fun. Like they were teaching me little tricks because I wanted to be men's like team leader. So of course, as a team leader, you would need to know how to merchandise. Like, say if they're not there, you would have to kind of take up and like move stuff around, or things get sold out throughout the day. You would need to have a little bit of knowledge of visual to like make sure you're putting things in the right section. So, um, while I was doing my team lead training, I was also like they were also training me to like help with visuals because I did eventually wanted to get into visuals, but I just wanted to start off like as a team lead to see what skills I could learn as far as managing and supervising too, because I'm a woman that I like to wear many hats. So like anywhere I could learn and be better at something or like refine skills, I'm gonna do that. Especially if I'm given the opportunity to, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to be like, okay, you want to do this? Bet. Teach me all that you need to teach me. I'll learn all that I need to learn, and let's see how far I can go. So that's what I spent most of my time at Urban doing. That I ended up leaving Urban and then going to Topshop.
Okay. And what
Yeah,
happened? How was your experience working at Topshop?
traumatizing.
Let's unpack that. So, was it traumatizing from a people standpoint, or was it traumatizing from like internally how you were responding to the situation?
So, you know, so when I first started at Topshop, I was doing registers, right? At first. So I did registers for like a year or so. And then yeah, like a year or two, like a year and a half, I was doing registers. And then I saw that there was a position opening on their visual team. I went for it. I said, let me go do that now. And I was about to graduate. I only had like a few months left before I graduated with my bachelor's. So I was like, perfect. I'll get the position before I graduate, let them know I'm still in school, and still willing to like do whatever. They worked with me because at first, like when I first started, well, I ended up getting the position clearly. When I first started, they were only giving me like 3 days to work around my school schedule, which was perfect. So I was doing that. And yeah, once I graduated though, I was like, I graduated. I'm done with school. What's up? So it took them a little time because they had to move things around to like give me full time, which is fine because like y'all hired me when I was still in school. So, you know, I was like, it's fine. So they, at first I was only doing like 3 days a week. At that time, we weren't doing overnights as often. We were mostly doing 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., which is perfect because I'm a morning person. I love the morning, so it was working out for me. And I did definitely learn a lot with Topshop. They were very, very, very meticulous about their floor resets. Very meticulous about everything. We got this like the stack. I wish I had something to show you. It was like this thick.
And what was in that?
So it started off with the trends, right? It gave you a breakdown of all the trend forecasting, the color schemes for the season. It gave you like pretty much full like research of everything that you needed to know about what was going to happen in the season, the color stories. It was literally like our Bible, so we had to have that on us. And then it would break it down for each department. So it'd be like women's, right? Women's petite, because we had a petite section too. Then we had women tall section. So each section was like each section had its own visual book. Like so in that like each section had its own thing. So it would start off with women's petite, women's tall, right? Then women's accessories, then women's shoes, because the shoe department was completely separate from everything else. So then when you're on the women's team, you have to read through all of that because you never know where they're going to put you to do whatever, and you have to execute. And each person, what they would do is like each person would have a set section. So like there was this one time I had like at that time we had Ivy Park, so I had to do the Ivy Park session. So I had to read through that booklet, had to look at the color trends, look at how they wanted it, and I was like, okay, we don't have all these pieces, but I'm gonna finagle it. Let's see what happens, and I would put it one by one, piece it out, and I'm like, okay, I like this. Have my manager come look at it. If she liked it, filled it in. Yeah, so it literally was like, and you have to move fast because we have multiple sections. Sometimes we're a short staff. And we had to get the store together before it opened at 10 a.m. So we'd be from 6 to like 9. You had to be cranking out. Sometimes you're doing 2 to 3 sections in that time span. So you literally had to work fast to make sure you got everything done before the time. And that's what led us into doing overnights instead of doing daytime. So that way we would have more time to actually do it. So everything would be set. And that's where the trauma comes in.
Man. Wow.
That's where the trauma comes in. Because your body's not used to being up at night. You know what I mean? Your body is used to being asleep at night. So like you're delusional halfway through the shift. It's like 2 a.m. and you're literally shutting down like, oh my God. I can't think.
Oh my.
Or you're playing music to keep yourself awake so that way you can get through it.
You put in some hard work. I mean, just from hearing you talk about this first, like this is even your full career. This is how you started. You were very intentional with the type of fashion that you're interested in, the departments that you wanted to work in, the jobs that you wanted to go after. I commend the ability to sort of like take some form of stake in your career and push yourself forward. But also, I'm impressed that you had to memorize so much like industry knowledge. Because a lot of people who are in fashion sometimes don't have that like strong foundational knowledge that retail really gives you. And that's like that's like day to day, that's like everyday fashion manifested, like is in the retail, you know?
It is like I'm happy that I like when I went to school, so we had to do this project where we had to like fashion forecast. And I did this project, and it was called Africana. And my professor was like, why did you go that route? I was like, I really feel like with the way things are trending, this is where it's gonna go. And I was like, it's gonna go back, like you're gonna see more natural, like in the Black community, you're gonna see more natural hair. You're gonna see us embracing our cultures more. You're gonna see this, you're gonna see that. And he pushed back at me so much, my professor. And when everything came to fruition, what I said in my project, he emailed me and said that I pushed back, but I wanted to let you know that I see what's trending and I see what's happening, and you called it.
Wow. I know you felt good.
Vindicated.
Vindicated.
Vindicated. Because it took, like I said, like I don't play when it comes to like research. I feel like people should be researching and looking at the market consistently and seeing what's happening, so that way you can forecast what trends are going to happen, so you can be either ahead of the curve or you can impact that trend. You know what I mean? So when I did that research, I like how my school worked. They gave us the syllabus, a whole, like if you signed up for the classes, right? And at the end of your semester, at the end of the last semester, you'll get the syllabus. So you know what you're doing. So I looked at the project. So I was researching from even before the class started, because I was able to see what he was going to give as a final project, which was a fashion forecasting. I didn't know I knew the general idea, but I was like, let me start looking at the trends now, so that way I can like gauge the kind of research I want to do and where I'm going to be pulling the information from. And so the first day when he did go over the project, because you know they want you to make sure that you're getting that project done in between you actually doing the homework too. So the first day when he went over the project, I was like, perfect. Good thing I kind of already started the research. So by the time it was time for me to turn in the project, right? Like I had all my research, I had all the resources where I got things from. I put together this like cool video. I'm gonna look for it and send it to you. If I can find it, it's probably on my MacBook. I'm gonna look for it and send it to you, because I was like, I fashion forecasted so perfect, from the color scheme to the color to like everything, like everything. And I was like, for him to email me a whole year later, because we had to do it for the year after. So like we're doing it for him to email me back and be like, everything you said is trending. And he's like, it's not that he's like, I just second guessed you, because I'm like, there's like really no way that she would know that this would happen for like in the culture like that. There would be this big of a culture shift. I was like, yeah, it took me a lot of time to research that, because I was really looking at my culture and how I present in the world. So I wasn't necessarily looking at fashion as a whole. I was looking at fashion, how it proceeds through the lens of a Black woman in America. So that's why I picked the topic that I picked. And that's why I named it Africana, because I was like, we're gonna go back to our roots. We're gonna start really like trying to become one with ourselves, and that's going to translate into the fashion and how we present in the world. And yeah.
I first of all, I'm proud of you for standing 10 toes on what you believed, and only because of your like again your background, like who you are as a person. You are very in tune with what's going on in fashion, and it's through your specific lens that gives you this vantage point that not many people can tap into. Yeah, I'm always like a big advocate of Black voices in fashion, because we shape so much of this industry with what we wear, how we do our hair, the way that we talk, the way that we walk. Like we shape a lot of what this industry is sort of building itself on top of, but we don't get a lot of the credit or the platform to really like amplify our voices. So kudos to you for like not necessarily dimming your light so far that you lost your voice, you know?
Yeah. Because he did try to get me to change. Because there was like midway points where he was like checking on it, like checking the stuff, and he did try to give me the chance. Like, I'm not changing it because I already did the research, and I'm still continuing to research, and I'm still finding more things that's leading me to believe that this is actually going to be a trend. I'm not
Yeah.
changing. And so even in his email, I have to look for that email too, because even in his email when he emailed me back, he was like, you were just so steadfast. He's like, I found it inspiring, but now to see everything that you said came to pass, he's like, I'm proud of you. And I'm like, see, I wish you would have had that same energy when I was in school, because I'm not going to lie. When he was second guessing me, I was in my head like, maybe I should change it. But then I was like, no, 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 no. You did all this research. You put in all this work. You found things that really match up with what you're saying. Like, stay with it. Don't second guess. This is on your spirit for a reason. This is on your mind for a reason. This is the topic you chose for a reason. So just continue. But he did I'm not gonna lie, he did kind of, I was like, oh my God, maybe I should change it, do something else. He did kind of get in my head at one point. But I was like, you know what? No, there's a reason why I picked this topic. There's a reason, so I'm going to continue to do it.
Yeah. I'm so proud of you. And like, there's a big lesson, a message even from me that I'm taking from this is what the work that you put in can't be taken from you. Like, just because someone else doesn't have your lived experience, your perspective doesn't make them right or you wrong, you know? And so it's a big lesson for a lot of us to continuously remember. Now, what happened after Top Shop?
Oh, good news. So after Topshop, I ended up going to work for Tory Burch as a visual supervisor at her store in Brookfield Place. I did that for like almost 2 to 3 years, like 2 years, 2 3 years. That was fun. I'm not gonna lie, I had a lot of fun doing visuals for her. What really made me leave was the culture of the store and the management. I didn't like the management. However, if things were different, I probably would be doing visuals with that brand, because I really did love doing visuals at Tory. It was amazing. Learned a lot. It was fun.
What's your like perception of such like a brand like Tory Burch? Like, were you a fan of
So,
the brand?
to be honest, before I started, I had known of the brand. I wasn't necessarily a fan because she's, I hate to say it, I'm not necessarily her target market. Let's just call it what it is. I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily her target market. Um, at least not with the apparel. I knew of her because of her purses and her shoes. They go crazy. Um, as far as clothing wise, like we're not like I'm not her target market as of clothing, but her bags and shoes. That was my introduction to the brand, was her bags and her shoes. That's what I knew. I didn't necessarily pay attention to her garments and her ready to wear, because I'm gonna be very honest, it was underwhelming. Underwhelming. I think her best collections did come out of 2018 to like now, like her collections now, is because I feel like now she's having more of a younger, like she's taking more influence from her younger audience now. She's really tapping into that market, because I think I'm happy that she realized that we are willing to spend that money if it is something that we can stand behind and we like. So like for me, there was this she did, I think it was 2019. She did a Princess Diana um inspired clothing, like inspired ready to wear, and to me that was the best ready to wear she has ever done. From the silhouettes to the fabrics she chose, to the colors she chose, to the accessories, everything was like even the jewelry that she did for that particular season was perfect. It was perfection. There was not one piece where I was like, maybe let me get this. Let me buy this piece. Let me see this piece. Let me try this piece on. Like that year, that I think it was 2019, right before the pandemic, was the best she's ever did, at least in my eye, fashion wise. And then now, after that, I started keeping up, and she is. doing her thing. But for me, that one was the best one because she played with colors, she played with fabric, she played with silhouettes. It was very much so like very chic, and I loved it. It was very chic and young. And that's what she needed to do to like revive her a little bit. And I also think with that line, she did bring more of the younger crowd in, because like now you hear about Tory, you see people actually wearing some of her pieces, you see people wearing her bags a little bit more often. But yeah, working for that brand was amazing. She's actually really kind too. She used to come to our store every now and then and like see how how it visually looked. Her husband is also nice too, like very kind people, speaks to everybody, says hello. I like that. I like that about people. Like, even though you're the boss, you don't have to be snooty. You can still be kind to people. So I definitely liked working for the brand.
So what did you do after court?
Oh, I took a hiatus. I went full freelance for a little while. Um
What was that experience like?
it was fun. I did a lot of stuff. Like I did a lot. I had to assist on a few photo shoots. I worked with this stylist. His name is Brandon Garr, and he had me on set a lot. So I was like assisting him anytime he needed help. He was teaching me a lot of things. Like, um, damn, I'm jumping around, but it's fine because there's a whole other side to my career. While I was at Urban, they used to have this thing called studio services, right? And the studio services used to, when 106 and Park was still a thing when I used to work at Urban. So the stylist for 106 and Park used to style like the men, like he used to style Terrence J, he used to style Bow Wow when they, when they were in their roles. He would come to the store. His name was Quasi. He would come to the store and he would like walk the floor, the men's floor. At that time, I had just got down to the men's department. I told you I was like doing visuals, so I was there in the mornings when he would come because he would come early. He would literally come like right when the store opened and walk the store. So he would come in and I would be like, oh, let me just show you the new pieces. So I'll show him the new pieces, right? And then I would leave him to it. And then there was this one day, he was just like, he's like, show me what you would like and how you would style this and how you would style the pieces. And I'm like, bet. I like this, this, and this. Yeah, I would wear it like this. I'll put like this, blah, blah, blah. I'll do this, this, and this. So I'm like taking him through the floor, showing him all these pieces and putting things together. And he was like, you have a really good eye. And I was like, oh, thank you. I didn't really realize who he was at that time. I didn't learn who he was until literally months later. I just thought,
Quasi Kessie?
yeah, I
Okay.
didn't know who he was for real until like months later. And then the person who ran studio services in the store was like, you do realize who that is for real. And I was like, no, he's a stylist, right? He's just pulling clothes. I know he pulls clothes, and I know he keeps some of them and he brings it back. Like they were like, no, he works for 106 in Park. He just asked to pick your brain, and he just told you have a good eye. And I'm sitting here like, oh, like in my mind, he was just someone that was just pulling. Like he's a stylist, of course, but I just thought he was just pulling clothes for a photo shoot. Like I wasn't thinking that like that's what he was like doing. And so that night I end up watching 106 to see if he actually used some of the pieces. And he did actually use some of the pieces I picked out. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I was like, that's so cool.
These
I was
moments
like,
that
oh,
you're like,
he actually got the shirt I said was cool. That's so cool. Like, I was like, I like this shirt. I like that. I like this. I'm not too sure about that, but it can be worn maybe if you do it like this. So it was cool to see that he picked up some of the pieces that I said were cool. So I was like, wow. Okay, maybe I do have an eye for this. We'll see what happens. I didn't really push it too much. I just was like, if I get into it, I get into it. I actually we still follow each other on Instagram, so we like each other's content from time to time and speak from time to time. He's cool. He's a sweetheart. But yeah, that was my first kind of introduction into like putting pieces together, I would say, or like showing someone what I thought was cool. I mean, you do it with the client. Of course, you do it with the customers when they come in when they need help, but you're not necessarily like thinking that much into it. You're just doing it because it's a part of your job. You're like, oh yeah, this is cool. What event you're going to? Oh, this and this. This will be great for your event. Like that was my mind. I never really put two and two together that I was styling until after that moment when I realized I was like, oh, it's actually a real fucking job. A real job. Um, yeah, that was kind of my introduction to that. And seeing other stylists come in and look around, I would help when I would see them because sometimes sometimes the studio service person would be like busy, and I'd be like, all right, I'll help you. I'm not doing anything on the men's floor, so like, do you want to take them to women's if they're pulling for women's, and if they're down pulling in men's, I'll help them, and I'll just set things aside for you all and help you in that way. So that's what I would do. Like if I didn't have anything to do on the men's floor or after I finished everything and the studio services needed help, I would just chip in and help when I could. And that's how I started like talking to certain stylists and networking and following them on Instagram and talking with them. Yeah. So now getting into Topshop, right? Because I've already kind of started building some relationships working at Urban. So when Topshop opened and those stylists were coming into Topshop, they were remembering me from Urban. So now like everything is coming full circle. So now everyone's like, oh, okay, you're elevating as time is progressing. So I feel like with the transitions I made career wise with like moving up in the retail eye made a lot of sense because like now people are like, oh, she actually takes this seriously. Because I feel like when Quasi first met me, I don't think he thought I took it serious. And then when he saw me at Topshop, he realized, oh no, she's taking it serious. And then I started like assisting here and there with like other stylists. Like we all started collaborating. So at Topshop, there was other people who also wanted to style and we would collaborate. So say if one person was doing a shoot, I would assist that person with their photo shoot. And then when I was doing a shoot, they would assist me with my photo shoot. It was almost like we were also assisting each other, but also like learning from each other and pouring into each other and like really just building community for real. Like there was a time where I pulled something for a photo shoot that I was doing, and then another one of the stylists that I worked with at Topshop needed it, right? And I was like, fine, I'm shooting Saturday. You're shooting when? He was like, I'm shooting Sunday. I said, bet. What time are you shooting and where are you shooting? I'll bring it to you. And then we'll email them letting them know that I gave it to you. I handed it off to you, and you'll be bringing it back in on Monday. And that's how we would do. So, yeah, we would just pour into each other and do that. Yeah. And then my first publishing ever was digitally published. It was Huff Magazine, and it was called Galactic Babe. It was so good. One of my favorite shoots, actually. Let me see if I can pull it up. It was my first shoot. That was the first time I ever pulled by myself. Like where I was like, let me see if I can actually pull from a showroom. That was my first time I ever pulled. Because everything else I was doing was like, I knew a designer. They would let me borrow the pieces, and I'd bring the pieces back to them. And this was the first time I pulled, and then we got published in Huff Magazine.
What does one have to do in order to be able to pull from a showroom?
So I pretty much in the email, the first email, I pretty much told them that I was, I was pulling for hopes of being published, which was true. I was definitely pulling for hopes of being published. This instance, the photographer had reached out to me because they were put on to me by another stylist that couldn't do a shoot. So the photographer was like, the other stylist was like, oh, I have another stylist friend that you could possibly work with because I'm booked at that time, but I know she'd probably be able to do it. So that was my first photo shoot. And how I pulled was I literally just emailed. I found the email. I looked up showrooms, And then I also asked like the people around me who were already pulling, because I didn't pull yet. So there was other stylists that were like pulling. So I was like, oh, I saw you pull from the showroom. Do you actually have an email? I was like, I couldn't find like a straightforward email to the person in charge. Like they gave, they give generic emails, and I wanted like the actual email. And one of the people that I worked with had the email, so I was like, great, let me get that. So I got it from them, and I emailed. My email was like, hello, my name is Kerene. I'm a New York-based wardrobe stylist. I would like to pull a few pieces for an up-and-coming project that I'm working on. We are planning to pitch this project for a possible publishing. I would love to collaborate with you all on this project. And then I attached the mood board and then prayed for the best.
And it worked out.
And it worked out. It worked out. It definitely worked out. One of my favorite projects, for real.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're entering into the freelance world at this point in your life. What did you learn from going freelance?
Patience is a virtue. I learned to shut up, watch, take in, ask questions. Don't ever feel like there's a stupid question. Ask questions for clarity. Make sure you are showing up, meaning you're showing up to actually work. You're not showing up to showgoat. Like when you're there, you're working. It's time to work. Like keep your eye on the prize. There's no time to be on your phone unless you're catching behind the scenes. But other than that, your phone is down. You're not texting unless you're emailing someone to get more pieces for whatever project you're working on. You know what I mean? That's the only time you should be on your phone. Especially for me, when I'm assisting, my phone is in my pocket unless they're telling me that they need me to do something. They're telling me that they need me to email. They need me to call someone. They need me to check to see where someone is with something. So like, I'm very like, to me, etiquette is like so important. So I learned a lot of etiquette while freelancing and assisting. Yeah.
And what were some of your highlights freelancing?
Ooh, I got to work with Billy Porter. Um, and that was for Out Magazine. That was with Brandon Garr. Billy Porter, so sweet, such a great spirit. That was one of my favorites. I got to work with Angelica Ross, also with Brandon Garr. Such another sweet soul, very intelligent. I really loved speaking with her. She really helped me to understand how to stand up for what I believe in, especially when it comes to standing up for like trans and trans awareness. Because a lot of times, my background. We're Jamaican, and like sometimes I have to correct behaviors and what thing like how people are speaking about people, especially people of the trans community. And so there was this one conversation I was having with her where I was telling her like I knew I should have said something, but because I didn't know how to address the situation, I didn't say anything. And I felt bad about not saying anything, knowing that I should have said something because what the person was saying was wrong. And so me and her had this conversation, and she really just kind of helped put perspective on things and helped me figure out how to be able to still stand up for what's right and speak up, because wrong is wrong and right is right. So I really liked working with her because she made me think, and she also was she was just a beautiful spirit.
I love that. I sometimes struggle in that area too, trying to correct people when I know something is wrong, and it's tough, especially in fashion. It's like all there's a lot of relationships that you are sort of getting your opportunities through, and so you want to preserve those. But it's also like your reputation is with every job, and so like making sure that things go smoothly is the idea, right? Because you want people to be like, oh yeah, I enjoyed working with this person XYZ, but also like you don't need to. I'm learning that you don't have to sacrifice your values for like a career come up or to get paid, like you can still be a person and hold space for those things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So right now, would you say that you're freelancing full time? Are you like working full time? What's your situation now?
I'm freelancing full time. I'm freelancing full time, and I'm also doing a lot more content creating because I'm getting a lot of opportunities in content creating. So it's really cool. But I am freelance. It's fun. It's very fun. I'm not gonna
So
lie. I'm enjoying it.
so content creating. Tell me more about that. What type of content are you creating these days?
So I do. I guess you could say like I do beauty, skincare, and you see fashion there here and there. I need to get a little bit more consistent with my fashion, but I've been a lot more consistent with like beauty and skincare because I've been just in my beauty bag lately, playing in makeup and skincare has always been my thing. So that was always a given, but I've been playing in makeup a lot more lately. So I've been definitely more in my beauty bag than my fashion bag as of late.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just been all these opportunities coming to me, getting invited to like, certain content creator events and hanging out with other creators, which is really cool.
Nice. Okay. So I feel like this is a good segue into our cultural topics.
Mhm.
The first one, culturally, I feel like is super relevant is social media and sort of the pros and cons of being on social. How do you sort of navigate social media today? What are your go-to platforms and how do you use them?
Okay, boom. So I'm on TikTok. I'm trying to like I post because like some of the stuff that I need to do, like whether it be content for like brands that have sent me things, I try to post it on both TikTok and Instagram. But I'm way
Okay,
more
that
present
makes
on
sense.
Instagram. It's easier for me to be present on Instagram. TikTok is a little bit more harder for me to be present on because I'm like almost like a second thought. Um, Whereas Instagram, it's just so easy to just post and go. Whereas TikTok, you kind of like got to edit the videos and all this. Yeah, I'm still trying to get the hang of that. And then there's this new app that I absolutely love called Laps. It shows you like what you see. Like you put all the photos together and it shows you like what you see throughout the day, like throughout the month. Like it shows you all the photos you take in. What other app am I on? I'm on X or Twitter a lot. I love Twitter. I
Me
can't get
too.
used to calling it X. I love Twitter. Um, I'm on there quite a bit. Black Twitter takes me out every time. Always cracking up. Always cracking up. I love Twitter. I'm always cutting up on there. Pinterest. I use Pinterest. Pinterest is a place where I start my ideas out and then I'll put everything into a deck and then start like creating stuff. So yeah,
Nice. Yeah,
those are my
I
those are my
love Pinterest. Pinterest is a good collaboration tool, especially for creatives. Um, do you feel like social media right now is like? Do you feel like it's in a weird place? I feel like it's in a weird place right
I
now.
feel like it's in a weird place.
Yeah, like I can't put my finger on it. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts?
Um, It's definitely in a weird place. I feel like with Instagram, they're constantly changing the algorithm. So when you think you have it figured out, you actually don't. So it makes it harder for you to gauge like the kind of content you should be putting out or gauge when you should be posting. It's like really hard. So I literally have given up on trying to figure out the algorithm and I just post when I feel like it.
Yeah, at this point.
I post when I feel like it. I'll edit the video and if I feel like posting it right when I finish editing it, I'll post it.
I like that. Yeah, like there's no point in like getting so consumed in it. The algorithm's gonna do what it's gonna do, and like it's just best to do you at the end of the day.
Exactly. So like if I like it, I post it. And that's how I feel about it. If I like it, I post it. And I also clearly I also have like obligations with brands that are sending me things that I have to post, which is fine. So once I finish editing or whatever, I literally just post it and go about my business. And what happens, happens. As
Yeah.
long as I know I did the great content, you can see the video clearly, you can hear my voice clearly. It's in the ether.
And I've loved seeing you more on my timeline. It's so because I see you from like different angles, and love that. Again, like you're a multi hyphenate. A lot of people who listen to this podcast are multi hyphenates. I'm a multi hyphenate. Like it's very good to see you like your brand world expanding. But another cultural topic that I feel like is really important for us to talk about is mental health. Because as like being multi hyphenate, you gotta watch out for burnout and be very like disciplined about like getting rest and taking care of yourself. So how do you navigate mental health, or what are some of the things that you do to stay?
I meditate quite a bit. I meditate every day at the top of the morning as soon as I wake up for like 10 to 15 minutes. And it gives me a quiet time to like just give gratitude, thank God for everything, and then just sit with myself and see how I'm feeling, you know? Like I do that every morning. And then also while I'm doing my skincare, I'm also in a meditative state too. Cause like I feel like in the morning, like the mornings are my most sacred because it's the start of the day. It's me talking to God. It's me telling God the kind of day I want to have and me asking for guidance and me telling God how thankful I am for all the opportunities and everything that has been provided and me just being grateful. I feel like everything starts with gratitude because we're only breathing right now because God is here making sure that he woke us up this morning, that we're sitting here, we're breathing in. We woke up on all our arms, our fingers, our toes. I was able to open my eyes. I was able to eat, like, you know what I mean? So I'm always in a mode of gratitude first thing in the morning. Cause like, I didn't have to wake up. God could have decided to take me home. You know what I mean? So I have another day, I have another opportunity to be in this world and be myself. Um, Yeah, so that's one thing I always do. I love quiet time. Like when I need it, I take it. Like if I feel overwhelmed at any point in time, I'd be like, y'all, I'm taking a day. Don't talk to me. Or even if you do talk to me, I'm not going to respond until probably tomorrow. So today's my day. I'm not answering any phone calls. The only time I'm going to answer, are you sick? Are you sick? Are you dying? Do you need me to take you to the hospital? No? Okay. So then I'm not, right. I'm not here. I've been really good with doing those kind of things, setting boundaries in those ways. So that way I can just have a little time to myself to like figure out like things. Cause you know, I'm constantly on my phone because I'm constantly editing videos. I'm constantly doing things. So once I feel burnt out, like tomorrow, I'm definitely going to take a day to like rest. Like tomorrow's going to be my rest day. I'm going to sleep in. I'm gonna blend. I'm not even blend. I'm gonna juice some peaches and some apples and make some apple peach juice.
That's
Like
so
I just
good.
feel like it's important to take days to really rest. So you can't like work because you're gonna burn out. Because I used to when I first started in fashion, in my mind it was like work until you can't work anymore, and it's not necessarily healthy. And I learned over time that you should work and rest equal parts. And when I
Mm.
started working and resting equal parts, like everything started really falling into place for me. I started getting more opportunities, more people started seeing me, more people wanted to work with me, more people wanted to, talk with me. I'm getting like all these opportunities I'm getting now, and I really feel like it's because I'm taking the time to rest and I'm understanding that like yes, I'm working hard too, but I also need time to rest and rest my spirit, rest my mind, rest my body and pour back into myself because creating art and like creating in general, you're putting so much energy into that, but are you pouring that energy back into yourself so that way you can continually create at the level that you want to create at? So for me, my best advice to everybody is take the time. If you're tired, rest. The work will be there, the people will be there, everything will be there. Rest. If you are tired, rest. If you're spiritually tired, rest. If you're emotionally tired, rest. You know what I mean? Rest.
I received that. I received that
Okay.
100%. And I love that you were like your your posture of gratitude in the morning helps to set the type of day that you're going to have. And I feel like so much of the time we have bad days because we don't focus our thoughts on like the good that we have
Okay.
in our life that we can pull from as energy resources, so as a source of energy, a positive energy, and surrounding ourselves in that. And that's how you like resting and meditation, gratitude is like how you like stay away from burning out, keep away depression, keep away self sabotage and thinking that you don't belong to be in certain rooms. It's really important to have the right mindset when you're working in the fashion industry, any line of work, but specifically in fashion because they will try and tear you down, literally.
Okay, they would eat you up and spit you out.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I literally learned that at the end of the day, God comes first and you come right after. And so that's why I start my mornings off the way I start my mornings off. I literally, like, 7 a.m., sometimes even earlier than that, I'm up at like 5 a.m. and I'm praying and I'm meditating and I'm getting my energy together and I'm talking to God and I'm journaling and I'm like, you know what? Let me, I'm up now. Let me go do my skincare. I'm also in a meditative state while I'm doing my skincare. I'm still talking to God. I'm still trying to, listen to see what He's telling me and how I should move. So yeah, it's for me. I'm a very spiritual person. Like me and God, that's my homie. I don't know what I would do without him.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do without God. Like I don't know. Like is life even worth living if you don't have God in your life? Like I don't know. I don't know.
It's that it's such an interesting question. Like people who choose not to, believe in spirituality, whatever, that's the choice. I agree though. Like my God lives inside me, where I feel like a lot of people in this world, their God lives inside a phone or it's like money. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what they sort of are working for. And yeah, a lot of that I've heard so many stories about like it's never about like it's not about the money, it's not about the material things. It's all about the relationship that you have with yourself and other people that like make life so important. And I feel like
Yeah.
my relationship with God is my relationship with myself cuz he is in me literally.
Mm-hmm.
Um and so you have to love in order to love God, you have to love yourself too.
Yeah. You do have to love yourself. Like the most important thing in this world is that you love yourself so that way you can love others the way you love yourself.
Yep. Okay, we're gonna slide into some hot topics.
Okay, bet.
And like I'm gonna say a word. I'm gonna play this game with you right now. I'm gonna say a word, and
Okay.
I want you to say the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay, bet.
Okay. First word is fast fashion. What comes to mind? Be honest.
She
Okay. The Shein is $1 billion company.
she in.
Yeah.
She in. It comes to mind, baby. They're doing I mean, they may not be ethical, but let's give them their flowers. I hate to say it. I really hate to say it. They're not ethical at all. Their
No.
practices and what I've been seeing, the articles I've been reading. But let's just be honest. They are a monopoly in the fashion industry when it comes to fast fashion. You're getting things right from the wholesaler, so you're not paying $30, $40. You're paying $6, $7, $10 for items that you go get at Zara for like $30, $40, $50 sometimes, and you're on Shein getting them for like literally pennies on the dollar. Crazy
It's
work,
crazy.
crazy work.
But they were able, as a business, they've been able to commercialize that process and find and make it like that. It's very data driven. They have a lot of algorithms that, to your point, like are rooted in forecasting trends and
Hmm.
looking at color trends and looking at style trends and those, you know,
I
those
want to let you know, as you're on that app, they also are looking at what you are looking at currently on the app when you're in the app. They're looking at what you're pressing. They're looking at how long you're looking at something. They're looking if you scroll past it. They're looking how long when you click it. If you're looking at other colors, they're looking at all that information. I'm gonna find this article and send it to you because I read the article and I was like, wow. I think it was at. It was in WWD that I was reading it, and when they were talking about, like, they look at all of that information. Not only that, they're also looking at like when you're on Instagram,
yeah.
there people are looking to see, like, they're looking at like what people are looking at fashion wise on Instagram too, so that way they can either replicate those items. Yeah, it's just so crazy. It goes deep.
They've really infiltrated culture in a really interesting way too, because to your point, they're not setting the trends per se,
They're
but
not.
people go to them to find the latest trends. Like,
Yeah.
I don't go to H&M to find the latest trends, to be honest with you. I would say maybe Zara to a degree, because they're known to have sort of this elevated approach to every day. But Shein is, if I'm looking for something that is trending, that's the place that I'm going to go to. And
Yeah.
they probably have it.
And they probably have it. And for cheap.
Yeah.
And for cheap.
Yeah. Okay. Second hot topic.
Go ahead.
First thing that comes to your mind, Fashion Week.
You ready? I don't think I don't think influencers who aren't fashion influencers should be at fashion events. I feel like if you are not a fashion connoisseur, you're not creating content around fashion, I don't feel like you should be at Fashion Week. If you're not, like, there are influencers who deal in fashion. They are, showing you the looks. They're showing you how they're coming up with things. Those are the people that should be at Fashion Week. You know why? Because they are actively, one, researching. They're actively making, like, they're actively looking into things and talking about fashion. They're passionate about it. I think those kind of people should be at Fashion Week. Not the people that aren't fashion girls or fashion guys or fashion whoever. The fashion people should be at Fashion Week. Those who understand fashion should be at Fashion Week. I feel like it's a free for all, and it's like, why are you here if you don't follow fashion for real? This Fashion Week is for people who follow fashion, for people who are doing the research, for people who love it genuinely, who can talk about it for hours and not get tired about talking about it, who can reference things or bring up references. And, like, when I tell you I'm so over Fashion Week sometimes, because sometimes I'm going to these events thinking I'm about to be sitting here talking to someone who understands fashion, and I'm talking to someone who doesn't know a lick about it. And I'm like, well, there goes that conversation, because I wanted to talk about how good that piece was. Did you see how that was like an A line instead of an S? Like, did you see that? And they're like, it's a pretty dress. And I'm like, great.
Dang.
Like, never mind.
Like, why do I come to these things?
I'm like, I come to these things to talk to other fashion people about what we just saw on like, on there, and you can't even have this conversation with me because you don't understand what fashion is for real. You just like
Yeah.
it for the hype. You don't necessarily love fashion, and that's my take on it. I really wish that we would have gate kept a little bit when it came to letting influencers in. I feel like the influencers that should be there are the influencers that are actually in love with fashion, that actually talk about fashion, that actually show up in the fashion world. There's so many influencers, and then, it's crazy, and then some of those influencers don't even freaking get the invites. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
That's so crazy to me. These people are
It's
on the internet giving us looks every day, sitting down giving us history on fashion, and then breaking down their looks and giving us the history on why they broke down their look the way they broke down their looks. And some of these people are not getting invited to these fashion events when they're doing that kind of work. So I don't know. I feel like the influencers that do fashion need to be there. The influencers that do not don't need to be there. Simple as that.
I agree with you 100%. I've heard this rhetoric pop up probably like over 2 years now. It's been where fashion isn't. I feel like when I first moved to New York, fashion was definitely inviting the fashion enthusiasts, like the people who are on the internet, like talking about it. Like I remember getting invited to like Lawrence and Chico, which at the time like they were dressing Cardi B, and I was like me, like what? It was I gagged because I was
Okay.
really in it. Like I had the blog to back it up. Like I wasn't just, putting on fits and like showing them off on Instagram, which is not a bad thing at all. To your point, there's something about people who sort of translate fashion into style. And like those are the people who should be going to these events, sort of translating the trends into like style sensibility so people can like learn but also grow an emotional attachment to these creators who are doing the work. And I think to your point, a lot of the influencers who fashion companies look at, they're not looking for their expert sort of lens or their expert voice. They're just looking for their audience reach and
Mm-hmm.
the number of eyeballs that they'll get. But it's it's a losing game if you put your eggs in that basket, because what you're doing is you're diluting your brand's message, and now you have to do stunts to get people's attention when you could really just root your brand in quality. And the attention that is on it is quality attention that people are going to talk about all the time, versus you looking for your moment, and then you want to get your moment by doing something radical, but it's not about the clothes. It becomes all about hype. Like how much hype can you drive versus what are you making?
Exactly. Like,
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
like so over that part.
um, so speaking, just one last topic. You mentioned hype. One thing that I feel like is really hyped up is working with celebrities. What's your thought? Like, are you aiming to work with celebrities, or are you like kind of like, you rather work with just
Um,
everyday people?
I've worked with celebrities. I don't mind it either way. I don't mind it either way. Whatever. I don't mind it either way. I really don't. Like working with celebrities, not working with celebrities, working with everyday people. It doesn't matter. As long as I'm getting to create something really cool, I'm pretty much like down for the cause. Um Ideally goal wise, yeah, it really doesn't matter. Like, because at the end of the day, celebrities are just people that just so happen to be famous. They do this. They've created their art. They're out there. They're marketing themselves. They're literally just
Mm.
people who marketed themselves correctly and now is in the spotlight. That's to me, that's all it is. And yes, I love working with like the celebrities that I did get to work with. They were really great people and fun to work with and work around. But it doesn't really phase me as much. It's just like, let's create this art and let's make impact.
So shoot your shot. Who do you want to work with in the future?
Ooh, that's a good question. I want to assist under Alexander. Hold on, let me pull up his Instagram. I think it's Alexander Julian. His eye for fashion is crazy, and I'm low key obsessed with him. I think it's Alexander. Yeah, it's Alexander Julian. He He's worked with Sierra. He styled the One Piece actors for some promo. Like his eye for fashion is crazy. Love it. I would love to assist him.
Nice.
Lord, please, please,
Alexander, if you're
thank you,
listening, hit my
Alexander. If
girl
you're
from the
listening, I
back.
would love to. I would love to be your assistant. Okay, I love you. I love your eye for fashion. I would love to be his assistant, even if it's just for like one project. I would love to see. I would love to see how he runs one full project
Mm,
because his work is so inspiring. Like right now, that's who I'm currently obsessing over. Like his
I
work
love
is
that.
like immaculate.
I love that. Is there anything else that like you want to leave the audience with? Anything that you recommend people diving into, or is there anything that you want to promote right now? Like, what's your?
Okay, so for the people, in anything that you do it wholeheartedly. Do it from your heart center. Do it with every ounce of your being. If you're not going to do it like that, and if you don't feel the pull to do it like that, then it's not for you. And that's okay, because you will find what's for you, and you will be able to do it from your heart center and feel fulfilled. What else I want to say? Have fun too. Like, don't just be all work. Have some fun. Live your life. Like, celebrate yourself. When you hit a milestone, it's important to be like, yo, that was great. Like, I did that. Celebrate yourself. Talk yourself up. Be humble, yes, but also still know that you're it. And it's in you. It's on you. You got it. Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so
Right.
much.